Broadcasting live from an Airstream somewhere in Tornado Alley, bringing you the people, places, and stories from the Panhandle to the Red River. This is your Only in Oklahoma show.
And welcome to the show. Today it's all about my neck, my back, my horse. Just like that. I'm Brett.
And I'm Harley.
Where do you go from there? I don't think the only way you go is up. You know what? After 5 years of doing this, there's no we can't go any farther down. There are some episodes we've had to get rid of because they went too far down.
So we do have a horse-related interview coming up in the next few minutes.
Yeah, we're not gonna. We may do a little bit of horsing around. Sorry.
But we do also have a crap ton of activities coming up over the next few weeks.
Things are opening back up, I think. It feels like it. I'm not seeing a lot of things being canceled. A lot of things are being modified.
There's something that has been canceled, and it's not due to COVID.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
So there was a point in time where you and I were going to go
I know.
to Medicine Park
I know.
and participate in an eating challenge that involves something that's basically the same temperature as the surface of the sun.
Right.
And I was like, oh, dude, I don't know about that. And you're like, no, we got to do it for the show.
Right.
And then all of the sudden you were like, oh, yeah, you know how we signed up for that thing? I'm not going to be there.
Well,
because
I blame it on the booking agent.
Stuff. I've got a thing and a stuff to do.
Well, and it's worse. Okay, let's rewind. Remember the time we did the polar bear plunge and I'm the one that was all in about it and I hate water and I got you to do it?
Yes.
I should get a pass for doing that.
No, this was your damn idea.
It was my idea. But to be fair, our booker happened to plan a birthday party for a child that is more important. So yeah, I do feel bad. I
have no problem at all with your, how old is he? How old is he going to be? 12, 14?
He'll be 13.
13 years old. He's going to be 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He can participate in one of the hottest food challenges in the country. Happy birthday. Your mouth is going to burn for a month.
It's hot figuratively and literally. It's the hottest thing going right now. In the hottest part of the year.
And there's going to be a great blues festival that's happening. So I'm going to stick around. I'm going to have ice cubes to rub on my lips as I cry in the park.
Are you really going to do this thing?
We already signed up. We can't just go bail on something because you can't figure out how to work a calendar.
I can't. Well, I can't take full responsibility for it, but I will tell you that it's nice to see things opening up again. Regardless if it's cancel culture, right? I'm allowed to cancel it, right?
I don't agree with that at all.
You don't? Okay, well, I'll make it up to you. I'll drink a whole jar of pickled jalapeno juice. I don't know. What do you want? What do you want from me?
Dude, I don't remember what is involved with this eating challenge. I do know that it's called the Devil's Toenail.
No, the toe of Satan. The toe of Satan challenge. The Devil's Toenail is, if you like the toe of Satan, you'll love the Devil's Toenail.
Okay, whatever it is, I know it's got Satan in the name. It's got to be hot.
It's the Devil's Hangnail, which is worse. I don't know if you've ever had a hangnail. Can you imagine what it would be like on the devil? I'm sorry. That's all I can say is I'm sorry. But what I will tell you, there's something else that's super hot. Horse yoga. No, I'm just kidding. It's not horse yoga. It's horse physical therapy. No?
So I figure at the end of this weekend, I'm probably going to need medical attention.
Probably.
And the guests that we have coming up may be able to provide medical attention, but I'm not 100% sure that A, will have the right symptoms, and B, be the right species.
Well, it sounds like what you'll be doing is a horse of a different color.
We'll get to that interview right after this. All right, Brett, so there is a crap ton happening in the world of taxes.
I thought you were going to stop in the world, and then I was going to jump into some tirade about 2020 being just a dumpster fire.
No, but can we seriously talk taxes for just a second?
Nobody else is talking taxes. I really think that people think that they're getting the year off.
Dude, I think that's a real thought that is running around in the stratosphere right now, that people think it's a freebie. we got money that we weren't expecting. I'm not sure how that's taxed.
Right.
There's talk of having a federal payroll tax holiday until the end of the year.
And what does that mean?
What does that mean when it comes to filing taxes next year?
Well, another thing too is a lot of people now are doing what they call it's gig work anymore. They're doing contracting for themselves, DoorDash.
Yeah, DoorDash is
Postmates. All kinds of things now are popping up. What are you right towards the end of the tax season?
So my question is, what are you supposed to do in this situation?
Right.
I know a group
Yes.
of people that can answer these questions and many others.
Mm-hmm.
It's Holiday Tax Group.
That's right. And if you're a military or teaching personnel, which I'm going to give it up to those essentials for sure, you get 20% off and a 30-minute free consultation.
Right. And for the free consultation, just call their direct line. It's 405-730-3100. Or you can find them on the intrawebs at holidaytaxgroup.com.
That's holiday with 2 L's. All right, joining us today is the owners and operators of Superior Therapy LLC. It's Summer, Terry, and Patrick Axtel. They're physical therapists for horses, people, and maybe even your soul. Welcome to the show, Summer and Patrick.
Thank you very much for having us.
How's it going, y'all?
We are great.
We're super excited about talking to you guys. I'm sorry. I'm a little starstruck, I should say. The amount of work that you guys are doing just kind of blows me away. Starting off here, can you guys tell us the elevator pitch for Superior Therapy LLC, if it's possible?
Oh.
I mean, we've got 3 floors. I don't know.
There's you have a menagerie of things that you offer people. Is there a secret door knock for all of them? What's the scoop?
It's more of an escalator, actually, I think.
All right. It feels like it. We tried to research. Tell us more.
When people are asking me what we do, I say we are Oklahoma's only horse and human medical spa. And that basically encompasses everything that we do. So we do physical therapy work. We do post-surgery, fitness and conditioning for horses using a variety of modalities. And then I'm a massage therapist for people. And so we do post-surgery stuff for people and massage, wound care, that type of thing as well.
I've already caught you in a lie. I'm just going to have to start with that. You do physical therapy for horses and people. You have a podcast. You do a blog. You do training for horse physical therapy. Is that right? And I'm sure I missed some other stuff in here.
And you barrel race. What's the situation? I don't understand. Are you the MacGyver of all things massage?
Pretty much. She's like a Swiss Army
Human, right?
Or like a Swiss Army therapist.
So which is
not actually associated with the Swiss Army.
Right. So, Summer, what is easier, humans or horses when it comes to physical therapies and massage? I know I did physical therapy for 12 months, and I was a crybaby.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the horses are more receptive. The interesting thing, too, about horses is there's no placebo effect. So what you're doing either works or it doesn't work. You know, if I'm a good enough salesperson, I can convince you what I'm doing for you is working, whether it is or it isn't. And horses are pretty much a blank canvas. You know, you're not going to convince them or sales pitch them into something that doesn't actually work. So I feel like you have to work a little bit harder, but I feel like the rewards are maybe even bigger.
So I'm sorry.
Why
brain
is that funny?
I'm sorry. My brain keeps going to all of the super fringe medical techniques, and I'm just wondering, you know, like at what level or what point you go, okay, the horse probably doesn't care if we use aromatherapy.
Yeah, that's the thing. They enjoy it if it actually helps them, you know, and if they don't, then you're not going to be able to convince them of that. And so, you know, a lot of the modalities that we use, yes, are very similar to what we use in people, and they're very receptive to touch. They're very receptive to stretching and things like that because they don't have a way to do that for themselves. So they're actually really open to a lot of modalities.
Right.
Unlike people, like sometimes, you know, it's like you have the big husband that's like, oh, you know, I'm not coming in to get a massage, or I don't need that, or, you know, that's a spa thing. And it's like, no, that's not what I do. Like I do chronic pain management, or I do post-surgery massage, or I'm trying to prevent you from having to have a surgery done. And so, you know, sometimes just getting people in the door is difficult, but then once once they see the results, usually they're back as well.
From the chicken and the egg kind of standpoint, how did you get to the point of doing massage work or physical therapy on horses? I've seen all of the locations where I can go get a massage myself. I live, I don't know, half a mile away from a physical therapy location, but I've never seen one for horses. So how did you come to that point?
Well, I've been doing massage on people for 15 years. And so that's where my original licensure is working on people. And so when I was a kid, there was a lady in Purcell that did acupuncture on horses, and then she also worked on my dad. And so, and she was a barrel racer as well. And so, like, I started at probably 10 years old going and watching her help my dad with his lower back pain. And then we started taking our barrel horses to her, and we saw how much better our horses performed just from getting worked on. And so, you know, I can remember being in high school and telling her, I'm like, I'm going to do what you do one day. I had a vet, the vet that I still use now. I've been using the same veterinarian since I was like 6 years old. And so he also does chiropractic on horses as well, and does some acupuncture things also. You know, it was one of those, just growing up watching him, seeing those different modalities that he did. I always wanted to go in the direction of doing something with the horses too. It was just one of those things I had to build my human practice first. And so I did that, and I was rodeoing, and that took me all over the U.S. I worked MMA fights. I worked the PBR, several different types of horse shows, and then, of course, obviously barrel races. So I had a complete mobile practice in addition to having an office in Anadarko where I was from. And that was the thing that I would see too, is like, you know, by day 3 or 4 of a big week-long show, the people were so sore, and I'm thinking, your horses have got to be sore too. You know, it was one of the things, trying to figure out where I fit into everything of wanting to help horses, but I wasn't really somebody that wanted to go to vet school. You know, I didn't necessarily want to go to chiropractic school. Like, I enjoy the study of muscle and the functionality of muscle. And so then we just kind of started developing the idea from there. And that's kind of where Superior Therapy came from, was trying to merge the two worlds of, you know, helping the horse and the rider.
So, Summer, you know, Oklahoma, it's no secret, if you've lived here long enough, you know that there's such a rich history with the American Quarter Horse Association. The PRCA has always been a huge staple here in the state of Oklahoma, Heritage Place, places like that. How come there aren't more? I mean, I'm not saying we need 100. We don't need a franchise, but how come there's not more programs like this, you think?
They're starting to grow. It's just for one thing, there's a lot of overhead. And I think that stops a lot of people. We get people that want to take our education courses, and that's their biggest fear, is how quick can I get this going, and how quick can I minimize my overhead? Right. And I think that's a lot of it, is our equipment is so expensive to do a big full rehab like I do, or like I have. But at the same time, it's kind of a new frontier. So when a lot of the studying that I do is places in Australia, places in Europe, they have been so much more on the functionality. They teach so much more on the functionality of muscle and biomechanics and correct riding. And part of that is because they have a lot stricter drug testing rules over there.
Right.
So where, like, we may give the horse an NSAID, like the equivalent of you taking ibuprofen, you can't show that horse on that. It'll drug test. You can't race a horse on it. And so over here, our drug testing laws are starting to tighten down a bit more. And so people are realizing, you know, oh my goodness, fitness is key, and we've got to rehab this injury a different way, because we can't simply rely just on medication. And I think that we see that too on the human side of the culture as well. You have your people that, you know, are very holistic, and they do things all natural, and they do a lot through diet and through exercise and training. And then you also have the people that are like, okay, I'm just going to go to the doctor and get some medicine. So you have both parts of it, but I think that it's starting to merge together, and people are realizing, not only for themselves, but for their horses, like, okay, it's not just take this medicine, let's get to the root of the problem and fix it.
That's a great philosophy. I've been trying to apply that to my own health. We got lost watching videos on your website.
Yeah, we did.
Now, I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm colorblind. What color is your hair? Because it doesn't look...
Well, right now, there's some pink and purple in there. For about the last 7 years, it's been completely purple. And we worked a youth rodeo. I think possibly it's the largest youth rodeo event called the National Little Britches Association Finals that they have out here at the Lazy E in July. And I came home and I think I sent my husband a text. I was like, I think I'm going to put pink in my hair. And so I did that for that youth event, and it's still in there right now.
Patrick, I mean, do you have any comment on that? Is that just something you just have to deal with? Is that one of those things?
No, like I'm super into the colored hair. Like I've always thought it was rad, but she just tried to play that off like she hasn't been keeping up with the pink and adding more pink to it.
Like this is new, right? So Patrick, not to leave you, you're not chopped liver. There's a reason why you're here. It's because you're a nerd, obviously.
Yeah.
I saw the hat. It says video games on it. I see the theme. Your first episode of your podcast, if I'm not mistaken, was entitled Episode 4, basically, right?
Yes.
So let's dive. Can we do a shallow dive? Because we could go way into the mire here. Describe your love for Star Wars and why it's such a huge influence on you.
I'm going to say it started off as just being like this iconic thing because, you know, my dad was the first one to introduce me to it. So it was a mutual shared of like, oh, my dad thinks this is cool. Oh, this is cool. Mm-hmm. And then just the more I started to read into the book, the more I understood like some of those philosophies that a lot of the major characters share with each other can be applied to your real life. And it's a lot of, there's like a whole subreddit about the Jedi mentality. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of about like having a moral standard that isn't necessarily set by constructs of whatever blah blah society.
Oh wow. I may be in over my head now. I didn't think so maybe earlier. I thought we'd talk about action figures a little bit and Boba Fett's helmet. Instead, we're getting into more philosophical discussions that I don't know that I am prepared, but not right now to go.
I mean, I can talk to you about my Mandalorian helmet if you want.
Well, I have two Boba Fett helmets. I have one from Empire and then the concept helmet from Empire that's still in a box. So yes, I would love to talk to you about that. And I have a Baby Yoda on the way that I paid way too much money for. So yes,
that is awesome.
I can
That's what one of my best friends watched. She has a little crochet business, so I had her commission a little crocheted Baby Yoda.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's like my prized possession.
I have a tenant.
But I think that's something that is really important. Yeah. If nothing else, which I am not a Star Wars professional. I'm going to preface with that, but it's about like, you know, your self-discovery and finding your purpose, but then also there's a lot of like, we'll use, you know, Star Wars analogies for, you know, trying to explain things to customers of, you know, staying focused on a goal, staying focused on something, you know, that's the fun thing is like you can overlay so many analogies and simplify it where people understand because there's a lot of rodeo people. I mean, like, goodness, when you're going down the road, you end up watching a lot of movies in the trailer because, you know, what else are you going to do at midnight? And so most of the rodeo people, it's amazing how many are actually Star Wars fans.
It's very surprising.
Yeah. Because usually the Kentucky Derby, they will do for like the May the 4th be with you. They have a Photoshop deal that they usually put up where they turn the end pole into a lightsaber. And so it's kind of funny how much the horse community is actually into the Star Wars as well.
Mm-hmm. Really? I do a lot of, I quote, probably my number one quote theft comes from Yoda. And it's not just the, you know, do or do not. You know what I mean? Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
It's okay.
I've practiced that for 35 years, okay? But I do a lot of quoting from that in, you know, so always something with you that cannot be done. You know, I tell that to my son, and I don't hear from him for a week. But, I love that you two seemingly come from different perspectives. And you have this strong bond and this great teamwork aspect. I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in the, opposites attract, because she grew up as this adorable little farm kid and I was a little chubby delinquent.
Well, then, I mean, give a little bit of your side of things of what we do, because I feel like Pat actually brings, like, coming from a non-horse background, he brings like a whole nother element to working with the customers and being able to explain things as well, just because he kind of sees things a little bit differently than somebody that grew up in the industry.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of gives me a little bit of an edge over you regular horse peoples. Because I haven't been around horses my entire life. I've only been around them for about going on 4 years now. So I'm able to just kind of see little things that you have overlooked 100 times because you're focused on trying to find something different or trying to figure something else out. So it's kind of, I don't want to say it's up to me, but it's kind of part of my job to kind of look for those little things that the horse may not be able to convey to a horse person, but to a regular old person like me, they can somehow get the point across.
So if you guys don't mind me backing up just a little bit, we were talking about your website and all the videos. There is some almost Star Wars level equipment going on in your barns out there. Can you explain some of the unusual therapies that you have for horses and what some of these videos actually entail for us? For sure.
So our big piece of equipment that you'll notice in almost all of the videos is our underwater treadmill.
Uh-huh.
And so it's a Hudson Aqua Pacer, and they manufacture those in Indiana. And so basically what it does, water is 800 times more resistant than air. So you can fit those horses against that resistance, and it's a low impact workout, but at the same time, it's a huge degree of fitness. And so you take a racehorse that needs to be able to get stronger and go faster and have a bigger stride. Everybody always sees these big pictures at the wire where these horses are completely stretched out and they're reaching and their core is so strong. That's a goal that's really, really hard to achieve. And so that's part of what the underwater treadmill does, is you have that much more resistance on the legs. So if you can fit that horse to the water, when you get right back out to just trotting in the air, then they're going to be able to do that so much more easily. And also, they're about 60% weightless in there when we have the water levels up a little bit higher. And so we can start these horses that are injured. Take a horse that's had surgery and they're just standing there in a stall and they're bored. And so then their behavior kind of gets a little bit destructive, kind of like if you had your dog left in a kennel too long. And so we can actually start them back to exercise much quicker than we could if we were just going to ride them and they were going to have to go out and just pound on the hard ground. And so actually the company that makes our underwater treadmill, they got started in the human side. So they have 2 different units for people. And then they also make a physical therapy pool that some of the physical therapy places that do like classes, like water aerobics and things like that, they make a pool as well. And then from that, they started making canine units and the horse units. And so they have 2 different horse units and 2 different canine units. And it's all like trying to achieve the same principle, being weightless in the water, as well as adding resistance. So you have a whole different degree of fitness.
So, with humans, there's the typical shoulder, the ACL, MCLs, things like that. To people from the outside, what are some of the most common injuries that you rehab with horses that most people wouldn't think about?
Well, ironically enough, your horse has an ACL as well.
Oh, wow.
So we do a lot of ACL, MCL injuries. We do a lot of knee injuries. Horses are prone to having foot problems. Well, actually just like people do as well. For every bone that's in a person, there's generally one in the horse as well. So there's a lot of similar structure, which is why so much of my training from the human side of things and the surgery research and all of that education, it all overlays over into working on the horse, because a body is just a body. It's all made up of soft tissue. It's all made up of fascia. It's all made up of joints and structure. It's just they're in different locations and they have different jobs. So like one of the things you see in people, psoas tightness, psoas injuries. So in Your psoas is what helps hold us upright. Well, in a horse, it causes back pain. So like in a person, typically your psoas is felt through the front of the body. It can still cause back pain, but it helps us stay upright. Well, in a horse, that muscle lays over the top of the back. And so it's where you sit as a rider. Sitting on that muscle causes pain. We also see a lot of glute weakness. Again, just like in a person, if your glutes aren't strong, then you're not going to be able to propel yourself forward when you're running. You're going to put more tension on your lower back. You're going to lose your core strength because you don't have any glute strength. And it's the same thing in a horse.
Yeah, Brett has an issue, like one of his hoofs is bad. I don't know if
I don't know. One of the issues is my glutes are, you said that and I'm going, I have weak glutes. I really don't. I need to do squats. I think I need to do something. I think I run faster than I actually do, and now I know I don't because I have no ass. When they say put your back into it, I can try. I will try to put my back into it.
We're in the same boat. I was not blessed with one.
Well,
no.
I'm all back in a crack. I'll be the first to tell you. So yeah, I need to work on my glutes.
So other than the underwater treadmill, what are some of the other therapies that you perform on the equine population?
We also do a lot of cold laser treatments and PEMF, which is pulsating electromagnetic field therapy. And so both of those therapies are regenerative. So if you have like a soft tissue injury, like going back to like an ACL or a sprained ankle, or even going back to like the back and the muscle injuries like tears and strains, so those are going to help the body heal itself. Those are also modalities that we use on people as well. They're going to have kind of that same principle of we're trying, everything that we do revolves around trying to increase circulation, trying to decrease pain, and increase blood flow. If you can increase the blood flow and the circulation and the quality of the blood that's flowing through the body can heal itself. And it's going to heal itself in about half the time. By using those regenerative modalities, that's going to help be able to jumpstart that healing process and get that horse back to performing faster and sometimes even better. And so the PEMF therapy, the brand that we use, it was actually designed by NASA. So the frequencies the electromagnetic therapy uses is close to the Earth's natural magnetic current. And so basically what NASA did was, condense it down into a coil, and we have blankets that have 14 coils on them. And so you have the healing properties of the Earth, which I guess kind of goes back to our Star Wars theme here. You have this space age technology that they have shrunk down into a blanket where we can pinpoint it on specific areas that are injured. And the other thing with like our cold laser stuff, everybody wants to say, it's a laser pointer, can you see it? And it's like, no, medical lasers, if it's a medical grade laser, you can't actually see it. It doesn't emit a light. And so it works on its own type of frequency, and you can pinpoint it to treat specific areas. We also use vibration plates, which is another thing that NASA was in on the creation of. And these vibration plates, originally they were using them to condition the muscles for these astronauts when they go up into space. But what they figured out is not only does it help increase your circulation and it helps increase like your muscle mass and things like that, it also has a healing component to it. They use them for fractures and, again, going back to like the soft tissue injuries. And so they make a human-sized plate. It's called TheraPlate. And they make a human-sized plate, and then they also make a much bigger plate that we use for horses.
So I have a question. That is a laundry list of things for horses, and if I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but she does people too, that's got to be is that a hard sell to the humans? How do you lure a human in?
And are the beds like side by side?
Right.
Am I going to look over and have
is Mr. Ed going to be by my head over here?
It depends. I guess if you bring your own horse in, we can totally do that. We'll just set it up right together.
Like couples
there's
massage.
The new spin on the couples massage.
I like
you
it.
And your horse instead of you and your husband.
Well, I'm looking at the list of things you do for humans, the list you do for for horses. They're almost in some ways identical in some, except for CBD hemp oil. Can you kind of go through the human element?
For sure. So, like, a lot of my customers, most of my client base are obviously horse owners, because I mean that's going to be the easiest way to find me, and that's where I'm known for. But the thing that I found was, you know, people will come and they may get worked on themselves, and you know, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, oh, I'm going to see if she's any good before I send my horse. And I understand that, because it's more expensive to send a horse than it is for you to just come through one drive-by massage. But that, a lot of it to me is the education. And that's why I run my social media the way that I do, because I feel like I should explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. You can pick any massage therapist out of the phone book, and this is what makes me different.
That's awesome.
The other thing that helps me on the human side is I've had kind of a plethora of medical issues myself, and have had multiple surgeries done, and I feel like it makes me a better therapist. You know, that's probably a whole story for a whole different podcast, but it
gives you a whole different sense of empathy and sympathy.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, I'm pretty able to navigate the human medical side as well as for giving advice. You know, obviously we don't treat or diagnose, or, you know, I'm definitely not a vet. We have a really great team of vets that we work with. But at the same time, experience has taught me a lot, and I'm going, yeah, you know, you're probably going to want to go to a shoulder surgeon for that. Like that, we're going to work on this, but I'm telling you, this is probably headed in a different direction, and I think this is the direction we need to go.
Sure.
So, I feel like people appreciate the honesty too.
That's awesome. And kind of leading into that area, you guys do some training. I have my youngest daughter. She has a horse. She's actually feeding her horse right now. She really wants to be a vet when she grows up. Now, I notice you guys you're affiliated with some training programs. What exactly do you offer, and who is that offering to, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So that's something new that we started. It's kind of funny. We actually got hit by a tornado a year ago yesterday, the tornado that went through Guthrie last year, and took our roof off. So that was I actually made a Facebook post on it that, you know, it was kind of one of those things in those months after not being able to work right after the tornado. It kind of gave me time to sit and think, like, okay, where do I want this business to head? Like, what direction do I want to head down? And we had already started. I had went and spoken at OSU 2 years ago, and we had started an intern program for some of the college students. And we kept having people want to come and learn from us. And so we had done last year, we had kind of done some like weekend training course things that we had put together, and they were pretty well received, and people kept just wanting them to grow. And so, you know, when I'm sitting there and trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do with the giant sun roof in my barn, you know, I'm going, I really feel like I'm called to teach. Like that's what I want to do. And I always tell this story to people that are training with us. Whenever I went to massage school, my instructor that I had, like, she kind of came in on day one and was like, look, you know, I didn't want to be an instructor. I have cancer. I can no longer keep up with my workload. And that's the whole reason I'm here teaching. She says, you know, those that can't do teach, and here I am. And I thought, that is the strangest introduction I've ever heard. But I will never forget that, because I'm like, you know what? Here's my thing. Like, I'm kind of traveling down this health path that I'm on, and I'm going, I may not be able to do this for 20 or 30 years, but what I can do is, you know, it's like I said, and I told Pat, I said,
we can set up the next generation.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we can leave a legacy behind, and that legacy is a lot of great therapists. And not everyone wants to be a vet. And so what we started figuring out through our intern program is, you know, we'd have these kids that they're like, you know, I don't want to be a farrier. I don't want to be a vet, but I want to help horses. Like, how do I help? And a lot of what we teach is, you know, it's like a trade. I mean, like, you shouldn't have to go through 8 years of vet school and then another 4 years of a rehabilitation program in a college to do what I do. Because for one thing, by that time, you're almost too old to do it by the time you've done 12 years of college.
Sure.
And so we sat down with the state and put together an accredited course. So we're Our courses, our certification courses are accredited through the Oklahoma Board of Private Vocational Schools. And so, which is what governs like your equine massage certifications. I'm not sure if the equine dental certifications are under there or not, but so we actually went through the accreditation process. And so now we can actually offer certification classes. And then whenever we started opening that up, then we had all these families coming back and they're like, well, what about offering courses for, just kids that want to learn how to take care of their own horses better? Like there's stretches that I could teach your kid to do that would really, really help that horse. There's ways that I can teach people to help look for whether or not they're on the right goal of fitness with their horse. And so we also offer those as well. And so we're starting to build an association of different modalities. Our website, learnequinetherapy.com, like my vision for it is having a central hub that's all things equine therapy. And so I picked a very simple name. It's like, what do you want to do? Learn equine therapy, learnequinetherapy.com. And so we're actually partnering with other professionals that teach courses as well. Like we have a lady that's a certified aromatherapy professional. And so she can kind of educate people on how to use essential oils for horses. We have several other professionals that are coming in to teach equine massage courses, stretching courses. We even do like the kinesiology taping. People are very familiar with seeing the kinesiology tape used on, like the Olympians and on the Thunder players and things like that. Well, we also use that on horses as well.
Wow. So Maddie is definitely going to be interested. What kind of time frames are your classes? How long do they last? That type of thing.
Well, we are planning to put together like some little like single day classes, but most of the time our people just reach out. The big certification courses and things like that are multiple days, I do those one-on-one, or if like a pair of people wanted to come together. So like if y'all wanted to do a family day, we could set something like that up for both of y'all. Or we've got talks in the fall about doing like a kids course, or doing like a couple single day ones, and those will be posted on our Facebook events when we get those ready to go. But most of the time people just reach out.
Okay. So all of this is tied perfectly together. You love teaching. You've got,
you have a Jedi that works as your assistant.
You're real big on your social media as far as your events and that sort of thing. Really kind of leads me into the 2 bullet points that I really don't want to miss out on. Your blog and your podcast. You guys are putting out a lot of information. It seems very thoughtful. You are providing information not only about what you do, but just horse care in general and the horse sphere, if that's a place, if that's a thing. Can you guys tell us a little bit about the blog and the podcast, how it got started, and what you're excited about, that sort of thing?
I mean, we kind of started the podcast. We knew we wanted to start one just because, well, everyone else had one and we wanted one too.
You guys literally started your podcast on the same day as us, by the way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I went back and looked.
So, and once we kind of started forming together, you're like, okay, we got our name down. What do we want content wise? And so we just kind of left it up to ourselves of like this broad spectrum of like, okay, we can do episodes where it's just, like Summer and I talking about like ourselves, or we're going to have interviews with various equine professionals or just medical professionals across human sides and even into other animal sides as well, just so we can have that much more of a broad spectrum of education and just knowledge that's going out there.
Yeah, we also started after the tornado too. We talked about it all spring, and we're like, we're going to do this thing, we're going to do this thing, we're going to do this thing, and it's on the vision board, and we're going to do it. And then we just never did. And then, you're sitting there thinking like, oh my goodness, like what are we going to do now that we can't? Because it took us, we actually never got to a point where we didn't have any horses. I still had some horses in my care. And we were trying to navigate through trying to get the barn built back and get everything safe. And I literally had a customer call, and she's just like, my horse is hurt and I know your barn's not working. She's like, but you're going to figure it out. And she's like, if you don't find a place to put him, I'm going to tie him to your gate and leave him. Okay, Pat, we're going to getting another horse. Yeah. I'm like, we're going to get a pen ready for this horse. So we never were completely vacant, but we just got down to like 3 or 4 horses in our care versus the like 17 to 18 that we normally have. And so, that kind of opened the opportunity for us to be able to do some of the extra stuff like the podcast. And then like, that was another thing that I had to learn. I had taken, we went to Albuquerque, I think last May, and I paid $800 to go to this social media convention conference thing. And I kept telling him, I said, how do I be a face of my business and not have to be in any video? Like, I don't want to be in any video. I want to teach, but I don't like the sound of my voice. Like, I feel like I sound dumb, and I don't like being on camera, and my husband's on Snapchat and he's hilarious. And like, I'm not as good as my husband. And so I'm sitting in this class I paid $800 for, and they're like, well, you're just going to have to find the motivation to do it, because that's how you get done, is by doing it. I'm like, wow, did I just pay $800 for that? Okay.
Right.
$800 for the Nike slogan.
Right. But what was interesting was we just got thrown into having to do the Facebook Live. I don't think I had ever done a Facebook Live before the tornado, like with me on it. Now, we'd had some vets and we'd had some other things. Like, I don't think
we'd done like a couple of like little niche things, but we'd never planned to do like, we're going to do a Facebook Live about, about horseshoeing, about, the importance of hoof balance. We're not going to do one about aquatread safety.
Yeah. And so like, I really hadn't been on camera that much. Well, then we had the news out here after the tornado, and I was having to give people updates, and I found that it was just easier to just jump on a Facebook Live and say, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we're going through. And what I realized was by going through that like crazy traumatic experience, I just looked at Pat one day and I was like, okay, I still don't like the sound of my voice, but I'm like, hey, I'm not nearly as nervous. Like, I can actually do some of this stuff, which, I don't recommend personal growth by like losing the roof of your barn and, half of everything you own, but
right.
Sometimes that's what you get.
Oh, I burnt my house down by accident, but yeah, I understand.
Oh,
it's a true story. It's a funny one now. It's funny now.
But and that's the other thing too, is it's like we had to grow so much as a couple. We were right down there in the barn when the tornado went over. We were in the office, and we have a friend that rents the apartment that's up above our barn, and he came flying in from work, put his car in the barn, and had barely walked in the office, and he said, it's going to hit us. And at that time the roof went off, and we were so thankful. Tore his car up. But we were so thankful, because when the north door blew in, the big overhead door, it hit Tim's car. And if his car wouldn't have been there, I'm not sure it wouldn't have went ahead and hit the south door and collapsed the whole barn. So we were able to transport all the horses that were in the barn out. We had one that had like one tiny minor injury. I mean, it was such a blessing. Like, we were completely blessed. But I mean, like, that was one of the things too, is it's like, we had to really grow as a couple, I feel like, because that was a huge thing to go through.
Yeah, it's like we suddenly had part of our barn roof destroy our part of the fence that goes around our house, and part of our barn roof is in our front yard. And you wake up the next day and you're like, okay, I've slept for an hour and a half, and what are we going to do?
Yeah. Well, and this other thing is too, it's like we had a lot of volunteers that come out. Like, people were amazing. Like, they showed up, came to help. But then what I realized was, it's not the few days after, because you're still running on adrenaline. Like, yeah, you're exhausted, but people are there. They're helping you. It's the month after. It's that 30 days later, and then that second month, and that third month, and then you're battling with insurance, and you're like, everybody else has went on with their way of life. And, it's like, I've helped over the years with different tornadoes and situations, like with other people. And that was the one thing that I have learned myself, is it's like, okay, it's not the immediate care that they need. They need that. It's the support system for the months that follow, because at that point, the stress is completely caught up with you. And I feel like that's when you're the most vulnerable yourself.
So how do you guys stay so positive? I'm just been looking at your podcast, your blog, the stuff you do on social media. And I mean, with all of the trials and tribulations and the stress of running a business and the stress of expanding the business, and then a tornado comes through, how do you guys stay so positive and together. I want to kill Brett about 90% of the time,
gosh.
and we don't have any trials or tribulations.
No, and we don't share anything.
I mean, I'm not saying she hasn't thought about it. She just hasn't done it yet.
Right?
Honestly, what's really helped us out is we learned, thankfully, kind of early on that just basically just communication. It sounds as easy as that, but it's being able to just say, like, even as mad as you are, like, you just need to be able to communicate in a positive way, or in a non-threatening way of, like, I am upset, I am this way, he is this way, like, how can we meet a mutual conclusion here?
Well, or the
that
fear
way, like,
of,
nothing,
No, go ahead.
Yeah, nothing gets left unsaid or something like that. Also, video games. That was actually a big help. It was like we were actually able to start, like, sitting down, like, in the evening times when we were previously still working in the barn until late at night sometimes. And so we were like, well, what do we do? I don't know. Do you want to play Borderlands?
Exactly. Yeah. It's just time together. But I've always liked to inspire people. I mean, that's one of my things that I enjoy. And it doesn't matter what you're going through. Somebody else has either been through the same thing or something very similar. And so, you know, I've always tried to take whatever I'm going through, whether it be a health issue or, you know, the tornado or whatnot, and, you know, try to pull something positive out of it, because you never know about the person you might be able to help. I don't know. I've just always, I'd rather inspire people, because I'm thinking I could be having the worst day ever. And so I'm going to, you know, put something motivational, or I'm going to know it's going to get better. And maybe if one person is reading this, then, and it helps them, then at least I've done some good for the day.
Well,
it's just like my favorite. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I was raised, you know, I had a village of people that raised me to be some type of an upstanding human being. I don't know how it turned out, but okay, oh well. But they always told me, always smile. You never know who's watching. You never know who needs it. You know, it's something.
I like that.
It's as simple as a gesture. It's not always a meal or a dollar. It's just a kind gesture, especially right now. In 2020, I think, is the year of the dumpster fire. I feel like everyone is on edge, and if you can be a part of some type of change,
just positivity. I mean, if you could just be positive, I'm super impressed. You do a great job of it. I'm again super impressed with everything you guys are doing. So
and I feel like too that you have. Whenever I was growing up, we all started the same way in the horse industry, usually by falling off and by not knowing what we're doing.
Right.
You know, I had a grandfather that was a very, very great horseman, but at the same time, again, we all start at the same level, and there's no reason for anybody to act like they're better than the other person. But what I see the difference today versus when I was a kid, you know, when I was a kid, you might have a bit on that's upside down, or you may have a piece of your tack on your saddle that's not correct. There was always somebody that would come over and say, oh, honey, let's do it this way, because what you're doing is not safe and you're going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. Let's do it this way. Where I feel like in this day and time, somebody takes a picture of that and it's like, oh, look at this person. They've got their bit on their horse upside down. Look at how dumb they are.
Right.
They're gonna post it on Twitter or Facebook and go about their day.
And so, I mean, that's one thing that I am always trying to stop is let's create a positive environment. Let's help that person. Instead of taking that picture and putting it on Facebook, you could have used that same amount of energy to go over there and say, look, this is not correct, and this is why it's not correct. That was one thing my grandpa always taught me is, instead of continually telling somebody that what they're doing is wrong, you need to have a reasoning why you're telling them, no, don't do that. You know, he always used the analogy, like, super simple of like, okay, why do you not touch the skillet? Well, because it's hot and it could burn your hand. If every time you walk over to the stove, all I tell you is, no, don't do that, you don't actually learn from it. Mm-hmm. You have to learn, why do I not touch the skillet? Well, it's hot and it could burn me. And so, you know, coming back and explaining to people why you're doing what you're doing, or maybe why what they're doing is not the best. I mean, nobody's trying to hurt their horse intentionally.
Right.
You know, they may have something on there that their saddle may completely not fit, and it may be running their horse's back, but it's not like they decided that day, like, oh, I'm going to try to hurt my horse. It's because they don't know any better.
You know, I tell people.
So you've got to create a learning environment.
Well, I tell people all the time, you know, I've been through some trials and tribulations, Lord knows. I worked in radio for a long time, so I had the ability to communicate. But with doing this, I'm able to talk to people like you now, which is cool. But I tell people all the time, there's a few things. It's the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. There's the never be afraid to pass on knowledge. And don't forget that you once had a first day. I think a lot of times we forget our first day. We had you know what I mean?
Right.
You have to be patient and be willing to pass on, because it's generations. That's how we've learned, is because people were willing at some point to say, hey, this is how it's done. This is how you can do it the right way. And that's what again, we keep saying stuff like super pumped and we love what you're doing. We do. Being willing to pass on, I'm willing, yes, I'll train my replacement, absolutely, because eventually I'm going to get to a point where I can't do this or that anymore.
Exactly.
You
and if all of these people, and a lot of the people that, I look up to for advice are getting older as well. And it's,
right.
It's like, okay, once that chain of advisors is gone, there's nobody else. I mean, like if we don't continue to educate the next generation, then, we're going to end up down to the Last Jedi, and that's all there is.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, it's just like I had a lady approach me at Little Britches, and she seemed like genuinely concerned about the way we were carrying our business. Like, well, shouldn't you be so worried about giving away how you do everything in your business and how you use all of your equipment? Well, if you're just telling everyone how to do it, then they can just do it. Well, that's kind of the point. I don't want to keep anything to myself. I would love to help instruct and educate people on the proper and correct ways to handle equipment and situations with their horse.
Well, that's one of the nice things about your website. Again, you guys have everything. You've got a ton of information here. And, for the people that are huge horse enthusiasts, I don't know how much in terms of hours, how much content is here, but it's a lot. I'll try to put links in the show notes for your different activities, your podcast and your blog and your Facebook page and that sort of thing. But where's your central location? Where do you try to funnel people so that they can best experience what you guys have to offer?
Probably the quickest way is our Facebook, Superior Therapy LLC on Facebook. And that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. And I post everything there and I mean, that's another thing. We do everything ourselves. We maintain our websites. I'm the kind of basically quintessential small business of I had to learn to do everything myself. Pat does all of the YouTube videos, all the YouTube channels. He also does a lot of the filming. If it's a cell phone video, a lot of times he's filming that for me. And so, Facebook, I'm almost always post something daily on there. And then he'll try to jump some of those posts over to the blog. And so, that's another thing that I help people with is trying to figure out what their mission statement is and how to build their business. Because you can spend a lot of money in ads. You can spend a fortune in ads and not even know if you've gotten any return. And then the other thing too, you have all these companies that want to come and they're like, oh, well, for this fee, we'll make sure your website's findable. We'll do your SEO for you. Or, you can spend a fortune running Facebook ads. The thing that I always tell people is you've got to stay true to your brand. Like whether it's, Star Wars and purple hair, you've got to find out what makes you, and then you build your brand around that. It's like I always tell Pat, like when we first got together, I think he didn't realize, how much the social media plays a part in the horse world. And I'm like, Pat, they're just trying to figure out before they send their baby to you, like their horse that they've had for 15 years, they just want to find out whether or not you're a good human.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, 100%, and so people can add me on my personal Facebook. They can follow me on there as well. I kind of post to both places.
Awesome. Well, Pat, Summer, we want to thank you for coming on the show. You guys have been great, and we really love what you're doing over there, so keep it up.
Yeah, seriously. It's something that you guys are providing more than just a service. You know what I mean? I think that's what I think a lot of businesses and things that are in operation miss is that personal, I don't know, we're losing the personal touch.
Well, we'd love to have y'all out.
Absolutely.
I would
come
love
out
to.
and see the place.
I would love to massage the glutes of a quarter horse. Is this something
I can
that
totally
I can...
teach you how to do that.
I mean, we can put you guys in the aqua tread if you want.
Well,
I'm totally down for it. I do about an hour on the treadmill every day, and it just hurts. I'm old.
yeah.
I'm all for doing it in water.
See, it's a low impact work. It'll be perfect.
There we go.
Just put me behind a quarter horse. I want to feel the haunches of a quarter horse. I'm just saying. That's
Such
it.
a weirdo.
I'm done. I just added something to my bucket list that I didn't know that I was missing. Massaging a horse.
There we go.
Well, I've got. Well, how tall are you?
I am not very tall. I do not, like I said, I don't have the glutes of a champion.
He's like jockey height.
Okay, we'll have to use Pearl then.
Oh,
We also have a mini horse as well, so
that's probably
you never
more
know what
speed.
you're going to find out here.
That's probably more my speed.
Maybe
honestly.
a Pomeranian.
Well, anyway, we appreciate everything you're doing. Appreciate you being willing to come on the show.
Yes, thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Color me shocked, impressed. We've been pretty lucky in season 1, or is this season 2 of this? I don't know. Are we even in seasons? I don't even know what season this is. Of stumbling onto interviews that you're thinking it's going to go one way, it goes somewhere completely different.
I mean, I'm going to just have to be 100% honest.
Yeah.
I'm screwed.
You're going to have to move to Guthrie.
I'm serious. I'm not joking at all. As soon as Madeline hears about what they've got going on and the processes involved, she's gonna be up my butt 24/7 to get down there. So and
you may have to leave her down there. You just send her with a note with care instructions.
I don't know if you heard it or not.
What?
But they were talking about having an apartment over their barn.
Oh boy.
I wonder if we could just get her boarding there. Like board the horse and Madeline.
But do they have Wi-Fi? I don't know.
If they have Wi-Fi, I think it's sold.
It's a wrap. It is a wrap. But more to the point, though, the things that they're doing, again, totally unheard of. It is, you heard it. It's only in Oklahoma. Nobody else is doing it.
If there's somebody else doing what they're doing,
Please
I
tell
will
me.
be shocked.
Well, and there's so many ways to slice that pie of if there's anybody else doing what. Massaging humans and horses?
No,
or...
if you add them all together, there's no way that anybody else is doing all of the things that they're doing. I literally I can't comprehend when Pat said, we play video games at night. I'm like, how the hell do you have time?
Yeah, where do you squeeze in I'm sorry, how do you, especially an action RPG, you can't just plug in and play it like a Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I played it. I like video games.
Right.
I don't remember the last time I played a video game.
I'll tell you the last time I played a video game for more than 5 minutes.
Prison?
No, about 4.5 months ago. That was the last time that I devoted any time. My PlayStation's updated more on its own than it has with me attached to it.
No, they're just workaholics.
But yeah, they're workaholics.
I love it. I love what they're doing.
Great energy. But not just their business. The blog, the podcast. I mean, the social media stuff.
I think it has something to do with their attitude.
Yeah.
They have great attitudes.
Their
and
work
they're
ethic.
super positive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's got to bleed over into what they're doing. You're a negative jerk.
I am kind of a negative
and
Nancy.
you don't do anything around here.
I know you say that joke, you're being passive, and you kind of, but I've heard statistically, maybe 60% of the time, when people act or say like they're joking, that they're actually serious. I know you're serious about that.
It's 99% of the time. 99% of the time when I rag on your work ethic, I'm being 100% serious.
But was it 75% of all statistics are wrong anyway?
Yeah,
right? Is that
99.3% of?
But
yeah.
I have a track record of being bad at percentages. So, but no, but in all seriousness, they've got a great thing going in Guthrie, America. We've been to Guthrie figuratively, literally, all the things. I had no idea it was there. I knew the Lazy E was there, but this place they're rock stars.
They are. I'm super pumped. If you guys have any interest in any of the products, services, information that they provide, if you like horses, you'll love their podcast.
Right, you will love it.
Definitely go check them out.
If you love Star Wars, you'll love their podcast.
Yeah, I mean, just in general. I think it's a good podcast. Get out there, subscribe to their podcast, and while you're doing that, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to ours?
Right.
If you like what you're hearing, hit the subscribe button.
You're in the neighborhood. Do it. Anyway, this has been the Only in OK Show. More shows to come. We're not done here, folks. I'm Brett.
And I'm Harley, and we're out of here.
Peace.
Horse yoga.
They're actually physical therapists. Let me do it again. The writing's small. You have to bear with me. I'm blind. Got me Professor Thunder. If you like Dr. Thunder, you'll love Professor Thunder. I almost feel like I like the cheap versions of stuff better. Is it because we grew up poor?
I don't like the cheap things better.
I remember the first time I had Shasta, my mind was blown. You know, when Shasta wasn't as mainstream. Whoa, what's that signal? What's it? I'm like, 107.17. Oh, man. Thumbing his nose with his finger. It is my coffee, but I had a drink. I had a Dr. Thunder. Doctor, give me the news. It's more like...
It is a Yeti-style cup.
A Yeti-style cup. Are Yetis worth it? I like the Ozark Trail just as well. I've had both. That's an Ozark Trail of that. Nope.
No, it's what do you call that? Magellan.
Oh, are you gelling with Magellan?
I'm gelling.
You're a
Give
Magellan
me a test.
guy. I check.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Check.
Check.
No,
Check. I'm not doing anything.
Do it again.
Check. I don't adjust
Check.
that, by the way. I don't even touch
Check.
it. I don't
Check.
touch the Peapod.
Okay.
I never touch it. You're a Magellan guy.
I have no idea what that means.
You wear Magellan shirts. You probably have Magellan shorts.
Occasionally. I probably do.
When you do outdoorsy stuff, 9 times out of 10, I bet there's a Magellan shirt involved. Really?
Yeah.
I see a lot of people wearing those fishing shirts. Are they cool? Got that wind flap on the back?
They do have that wind flap. It is nice. But I think it's particularly nice, sir, for chunky dudes.
You just to be able to breathe a little better?
Yeah.
Hell, I've only started wearing a tank top. I hadn't worn a tank top since I was a kid this summer. Got a little extra sun, so I didn't mind. Hey, with all the COVID stuff, that was the only gun show in town. Ooh.
All right. Let's do something.
You do something.
Oh, my God.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1.